This is Fanfiction Only. The Tale of Darth Victus the Mad by Darth Victus.
2 years after the Battle of Malachor V.
Lightning flared through the skies above, crossing through great gray clouds. The weather on Thule was nothing new. Scorched sand dunes upon great savannas were testimonial to the harsh end weather conditions. Many had tried to colonize Thule before, for the luminescent moss that clinged to the side of the rock. Many had failed. Naga Sadow had made Thule a Sith stronghold, but during the time of Revan, Thule faded into obscurity. Now there was only sand and ruins of the once great Sith Empire, and a lonely figure crossing the great desert. The dark-clad figure moved in desperation to an ancient Sith temple miles away from Naga Sadow's stronghold and the rumored resting place, or the Dark Reaper. There was desperacy in the steps as sand moved beneath the weight of the boot. Even a flash of lightning or a gust of wind didn't seem to slow the despot down until finally the dark intruder stood at the base of the Enclave and looked up. The Enclave itself was no worse for wear, considering the years it spent neglected. Huge stairs leading to a grandiose entrance were still undamaged, although huge spires that reached out to the heavens had toppled from the ferocity of Thule's storms years ago. The only thing that remained of those spires now was dust and barren and skeletal bases. Huge plasticrete doors laid in unnatural positions as if force opened by an army, again damaged by Thule's wrath. The cloaked figure would soon make his or her climb to that very maw and descend into the darkness away from the storms. Once inside, Lord Tremaine, leader of the Imperial Remnant, removed the hood from his head. The old man barely resembled a Sith Lord. He looked more like a banker or somebody who'd sell stocks and bonds at the Coruscant Exchange. With his finely cut hair and neatly trimmed beard, even the clothing under his robes. He stood at average height and had an average build. Looks can be deceiving, he had told people on numerous occasions. Tremaine waited for his eyes to readjust to the light. The eerie dead yellow glow of the moss projected shadows on a once great hall, illuminating ancient hieroglyphs written in a Sith language now dominated by a basic-speaking galaxy. If Traya had been alive, she'd have deciphered the language in a matter of seconds. However, she had fallen with the Traya's Academy on Malachor V, along with Lord Sion. Nihilus had died above Talos due to interference from the Mandalorians and the Republic. The Empire had fallen far, being scourged across half the galaxy. Tremaine knew that if any Sith were still alive outside of his fleet, they would have hidden in holy territory. As he moved quietly through the shadows, a sudden movement and a flash of crimson revealed a young girl standing in front of him, an apprentice, whose eyes were wide with fear. "Relax, child," he said with false courage. "If I had wanted you dead, you'd be dead." The girl kneeled in front of Tremaine full of fear. She couldn't even bring her eyes to meet his sullen glare. "I'm sorry, my lord, but we haven't seen any other Sith in months." Her fear made Tremaine cringe in anger. Had the Empire fallen so far that this young girl had forgotten what it had meant to be Sith? He hated her. Now, my dear, all will be set right soon," he said, feigning genuine sincerity. "How many of you are there?" "Not many. We were caught off guard by Republic ships when we tried to make Korriban. We lost more than half our numbers trying to make our escape. Others have died of starvation." She couldn't hold back her tears any longer. "More died out in the storms trying to find food." "Take me to them." The two descended further into the Enclave as she continued her report. Tremaine couldn't believe the stupidity as to which the fleet had been commanded. Every move they had made since Talos had taken them further into Republic hands, until only a handful remained. As they entered the chamber where the others were staying, Tremaine received the biggest shock of all. There was no master. Who is in command, child?
I guess I am.
Meek was her reply, further fueling Tremaine's anger. And your master?
He died on the Ravager with Lord Nihilus.
He stopped short, anger filling his eyes. So I am to believe that you, a child of the Sith Order, infused with fear, are in command of this pathetic band of rabble. The girl began to back away from Tremaine, but was too late. With practically no movement at all, he ignited his blood-red blade and cut her down where she stood, garnering the other Sith's attention. I am Darth Tremaine. Let this lesson be a lesson to you all. Failure is not an option anymore. He spoke with cutting glass words and a false bravado. We will return to my fleet and rebuild what was lost to... A slow clap came from the shadows, cutting off what Tremaine was about to say. As he turned, he saw a young man, or at least he thought it was a young man, coming into the dimly lit chamber. Excellent work, Lord Tremaine. You might be able to call yourself Lord just yet. The owner of the voice wore the robes of a Sith alchemist. Flowing cassock, flared pants, and a tassel neatly tucked below the man's sword belt. Tisk, tisk, striking down a half-starved apprentice. The spirits of our long-dead lineage must look upon you with great confidence. Long gray hair flowed down a cleanly shaven face. Eyes burned yellow spoke of power Tremaine only dreamt of. Who are you? Who I am is of little consequence. It's what I am about to do that you should be more worried about. As the Lord approached Tremaine, his seething could be clearly seen. As for the Empire, the true Empire, it is alive and well. Tremaine barely had time to react, as he soon found himself pinned to the wall, then to the floor, and finally, the ceiling of the room. The Sith Lord continued to speak. Your own failures are what you should be worried about, Tremaine. Taking a title you have no right to bear because of your cowardice. I must say that the Emperor is most displeased indeed. Don't worry, you won't live long enough to stand trial. Tremaine, still pinned to the ceiling, began to feel a tugging on his skin as the Dark Lord stood beneath him. Soon, flesh started to peel away from around Tremaine's skull, blood oozing from newly formed wounds. Tremaine shrieked as the man spoke to the Sith now gathering around him. I am Darth Victus. Follow me, and I shall lead you to glory. Follow not, and meet this poor man's fate. Victus was now being showered in blood as he released his hold on Tremaine. Tremaine lay now in a crumbled mass on the blood-soaked floor at Victus' feet, moaning in pain. Really, Lord Tremaine, I am trying to address my troops. Will you be quiet? Victus unleashed a pyrokinetic kill on Tremaine, causing the ground beneath the former Sith to crack. As I was saying, failure is not an option.